little pony, my little pony.
Hello and welcome, everyone. This is a little special segment of Bronyville podcast here. This is Apple Cider, as always. Hey, Chef.
Hello, hello.
We are in the same room again.
Indeed.
This is great. Our guest that we have today, and we are so terribly, terribly gracious to have it, we have Jayson Thiessen with us. Hello.
Hello.
And you do so much for the show.
Oh, I'm only one person.
I know you are one person.
And he's in the same room, too.
Yes.
I'm in the same room. This is not
amazing.
over
We're
some
sitting.
sort of Skype type thing.
No.
This is unless you're a hologram.
If I was, that would be amazing.
I think that would be cooler than being in the same room. I would prefer, actually, if we could do some sort of a Star Wars holographic
You know, there is a
podcast.
partition right there. If you want to be on the other side and just yell through it, I guess that would work.
Yeah, maybe.
I think our audio guy might not be too happy.
No.
M would be a little bit, the audio for the show is not very good.
I'd like to see one where, like, nobody's in the same room, but the holograms are all in the same room.
Oh.
So, like, there's actually nobody there but, holograms.
That sounds like a good idea for an episode. There was that weird My Little Pony hologram episode. Then they were all in the holodeck, and I don't know what happened.
That doesn't sound right.
And then Moriarty came out. So weird. Mixing the Star Trek in.
Yeah.
So, we have a whole big list of questions that was added in from several community members we have from Equestria Daily, Every Radio. They all helped us compile questions that were approved. So we just have this list that we're going to work with that, we
Nope.
can...
Yeah, keep it
No
simple.
particular crazy order, but just
Sure.
we've got non-pony and very pony related questions
All right, yeah.
to go through these. So we can breeze through them. I said, super cool to have you here.
Yeah, I mean, this is awesome.
It's cool to be wanted.
There are a few people listening to this being like, we are so jelly right now.
Really?
Let's see. So I'll go ahead and start first. So I have a friend, Kelly. She does some animation on the side for a video game company. She said, "So what's the culture like over there at Studio B?"
The culture. Well, I mean, it's pretty fun. We try to keep it really relaxed. I mean, people just wear whatever they want to wear, and they show up when. Well, they need to show up on time, but but no, we don't punch the clock. It's creative environment, We try to keep it fun and loose. I mean, it's a tough show. It's a lot of work. Animation is not easy, and it takes a lot of concentration and hard work. So we don't want to add to the stress. So wherever we can try to keep it relaxed and creative, we do. So. It's very, very open. People chat and watch, movies and stuff if they have the time. They're listening to me right now, so
They're like, "Oh yeah, that's what our boss
Yeah,
says."
no.
We'll see.
No. It's not super strict or anything, but I mean, we keep it open, wherever people have ideas and stuff to add in, we try to keep it loose and open and like, oh, let's hear what you have to say. I don't want to shut anybody out, and we'll hear everybody's ideas, and it comes in at every stage. Storyboard artists might come up with a great way to improve a joke or a new joke, or an animator might, or a layout artist might go, you know what, this scene. It's kind of hard for us, or it doesn't quite work. Maybe let's try something else. Let's do something completely different. And be like, well, okay, show it to me. What do you think? Oh, okay, yeah, I like that. Let's do that. So it's open and free that way. So.
Okay. Well, that actually leads into the next question that was asked also by Kelly. How much freedom do artists and writers have between the storyboarding, building, and finishing stages for their own input and touches?
Yeah, I guess that is tying in. Everyone is open to interpret it. I mean, I'm there to kind of oversee it, and Woody too. And we try to keep the show on track. I mean, obviously we don't want to go off on crazy tangent somewhere, and it doesn't feel right, or we're not able to tell the story. So as long as it serves the story, serves the characters, and serves the show and the interests of it, then it should be listened to. And so, you know, there is quite a bit of freedom, and Hasbro has been more than gracious about that kind of thing. You know, when we come up with something that isn't quite in the script, how it was written and approved, we give it a try. Like, well, maybe what do you think of this? And a lot of times, you know, obviously if it's gone through me, then, you know, I've put my approval on it, or Woody has, and you know, if Hasbro's cool with it too, and it's appropriate for the show, then a lot of times it gets in.
Mm-hmm. And speaking and segueing into another, using the term Hasbro, so when it comes down to the actual writing for the show, how does that go with the Hasbro's check of approval? Do they actually have someone that comes and you mentioned in the panel earlier that you had a big panel writing session. Does Hasbro actually sit in and go like, yeah, that sounds like an okay, or is it more free form where it's like, hey, these are the ideas we had, we submitted to them, and they said these were good?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. I mean, they have they're part of making the show as much as anybody else. I mean, they see every stage, and so the scripts all, and like the premises and the ideas all go through the story editor, and when Lauren was on the show, go through her or come from her and go right to Hasbro, and then they would make their adjustments if they need be, or put their stamp on it, and then it gets to us in production, and then they see the storyboards in the animatic form. Once we've all put our stamp on it, then Hasbro, sees it just as much. And sometimes something's not working for them, and they come up with a solution that sometimes works better. And I go, oh, you know what? I like that. You know, thanks for your input. You know, so it's a collaboration across all boards. So and that's great. I mean, they've been really great about it. I'm really happy working with Hasbro. Actually,
now it sounds like they give you guys kind of to some degrees they say they steer you down a path, but it sounds like for the most part they let you kind of go down the avenue to be like just we do what you're going to do. But you know, these are kind of the points we want you to hit. Yeah,
and that's the way Lauren was too. I mean, and everybody has that kind of feeling of like, well, we have the freedom as long as we're telling the story how the story needs to be told. If it's a little different than how it started out, then as long as it's still the same story, you know, it's just if the visuals need to change to sell an idea, or if we can say the same thing in a visual way rather than with dialogue, because sometimes the show is too long, we have to cut things down, or
22 minutes to work with.
We're like 22 minutes.
22 on the
22
dot.
on the dot. 22 minutes and 13 seconds and 16 frames.
Ooh.
So
credits done.
Yeah. It's that's I'd say pretty typical. But sometimes it's a challenge to get. Not every story can be told in exactly the same amount of time. So you know, we keep it flexible, and sometimes something that was fun didn't quite make it in there because it didn't fit in the 22 minutes. But you know, we do our best to keep everything as it was originally envisioned and how it should be told.
Want to hit the next one, Sheffers?
So this is from Asia Williams. As a director, how do you find a happy medium between character development, keeping the humor on task, as well as moving the story along?
So character development, keeping the
medium between character development, keeping the humor on task, as well as moving the story along.
Well, that's the trick, isn't it? That's sort of directing in a nutshell, I guess.
Yeah.
It's we're trying to communicate the story and keep the story in check, as well as the humor, finding place for humor, and all the character in there too. Like that's basically it. You know, that's the director's job.
That is your life. From
So
punch in to when you go home to when you keep working.
Exactly.
At home.
So like sometimes you get blinders on, and it's easy to get stuck in like, oh, how do we get this scene and make the scene work and all that stuff. But then you really got to widen out your field of view and see the whole show for what it is. And it's I like to think of it as like this. It's a fourth dimensional painting that like it takes 22 minutes to see the painting, and it's like it's all one picture that should be seen in that way. And if you're looking at it with too narrow of a view, you miss other parts. And if you're only focusing on this part, you can lose sight of the bigger picture. It's the forest for the trees. So and so it's all about watching the whole thing over and over again, and like getting the sense of like, am I seeing all the points being hit? Is the humor there, and is the characters really portraying everything? And so that is the balance. It's tricky to do, and it takes a lot of concentration.
Right. So ponies, marshmallow ponies is not exactly your first thing that you've worked on. You've certainly done some in the past.
Yeah.
So the next question. So how does working on this particular show different from working on Puka or Oz, the Mr. Hell show?
Yeah. Well, that's an oldie.
Does it seem easier or harder? Let's see, how does it differ? Especially the changes in target audience, since you're going for a lot younger audience than you probably had before.
Well, Puka was the first show that I ever actually was a director of any kind on, and that was definitely a challenge. And on the Mr. Hell show, I was an animation supervisor, I believe, and that was just me supervising animation, and that show had a lot more freedom. It was more for adults, and there were some inappropriate things on that show. But I've worked on a lot of different shows in different capacities, and but Puka was the first one that I really had a lot of influence on and stuff. So that show was just a lot of work because it was my first job in directing, and it was, a different kind of show. It was kind of like an Asian sort of style show, and I really had a lot of my own input into it and everything. And it was very cutesy, and My Little Pony is kind of similar. Like Puka was sort of like could be considered a girly show too, but with like action and ninjas thrown in there. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that, but I kind of feel like I learned everything, or not every. I didn't never learn everything, but I learned a lot about what my job is entailing on that show
to push forward.
And then so I kind of made my mistakes on that show, and then when I got ponies, I was more confident and kind of had more of an idea of what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, and maybe like how to figure out how to use the budget and the schedule to my advantage, and work out with the producer a pipeline that is suitable to the show. And so I got in there with a lot more confidence than I did on Puka, and I feel like I've also grown on My Little Pony too. And it's experience, So it's just a part of my developing career, I guess.
Yeah.
Who knows what'll happen?
The further pressing.
Yeah, like my next project that comes up somewhere down the line will be, again, something different, and I'll probably learn something new. Every show is totally different.
Oh, yeah.
And when you're presented with a show, like when My Little Pony came into the office, it was like, okay, I got to steer my sensibilities to meet the target audience, and you may not be the style that you like personally as a director, but you got to please your client and do a good job, and you do what you need to do to get it to work. So it's kind of like, as a director, you're like a jack of all trades and a chameleon. You got to put on different skins for whatever production that you're working on.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. So, as you kind of alluded a little earlier, you came from animation. That was kind of where you came from. So, since you are a director now, what do you miss anything out of that world, or do you get down in the trenches when it comes crunch time? You're just like, give me that all right, here, I'll help you out.
I was an animator. I was a Flash animator. I was a classical animator, and I did a little bit of storyboards, but and I've done my own little short films that I've when I had time to produce my own thing, and just played at home with stuff. Going into directing, I kind of talk about it like it's like drawing with boxing gloves on your hands. Like you don't really touch anything yourself. You have to find a way to find another way to do it. Get someone else to draw it for you. So
hey,
it's like,
you should draw it like this.
Yeah, like how does it's you're a little bit separated from the trenches, like you say. But yeah, I do kind of miss animation. As an animator, you're not so responsible for so much of the show. Like, I got to be there for the voice records, for the storyboards, and figure it all out, and have an idea of what to do, and see that idea all the way through to the end mix, and make sure that everyone's happy and the client's happy. And it's a lot on one person's shoulders, and there's a lot of people involved. But as an animator, you're really just, all you're worried about is that one scene, from scene to scene, animate the character, bring him to life, and make the director happy, and then you go home and...
Now you're the person that they all gotta make happy.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of romantic to think about going back and just having that one thing to think about all day. And you can just kind of like, I really like to move that eye, and, look at that beautiful
late at night, you just start logging in, and just, there we go.
Yeah, and it was really hard when I started directing to not try and animate the show myself, and I found myself just going, well, I'll just fix that, and I'd sit down and either reboard it or reanimate it how I wanted it, and I found that that's not really the best way always to direct. It's about communication, and so I've sort of learned the art, or I'm trying to learn the art of communicating your ideas to the people who are actually doing the work, and getting them to see your vision and understand it. And then sometimes they don't do it the way that you want it to do, but you know what? If it works and it's good, just because it's different from your own way and your own sensibility, then it doesn't make it wrong. So it's again kind of learning that balance of like, is it the way I would do it, or is it the way just that they would do it, and it's not wrong, it's just different,
Right.
And letting other people have their day. I don't want to take people's work and throw it out just because I want my work out there. I don't want to be that way.
Well, you didn't do that right, so let me just do that.
Yeah. I'd rather teach that person how I would like to see it, so that they, it's like leading a horse to water. Or teach, or what is the one? Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to mix my metaphors, but
lead a man to water to fish to teach him.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, teach a man to fish, and he eats for a lifetime. So and I think that breeds a better environment too, because people see their idea on screen, and it gets the crew more involved with it and more proud of it. I wouldn't want, as an animator, to see my scene totally changed, and it's like, well, that's not what I did.
Yeah.
So.
And
want to do that one?
Wait.
Let's move that, since that does say my name.
Well, that is you.
That is me.
Okay, fine.
I can read it. It's just I've been chatty. I'm usually very chatty.
Full of words, I see.
I know.
I ramble on for hours. Just tell me to
No,
shut
we
up.
like the fact you ramble.
Yeah.
This is gold.
This is all
AC has a
content.
couple of his questions, so I'm going to read somebody else's.
Some around.
This is from Matt Bird. Is there any episode that you're personally really proud of, or a personal favorite? Is it still Sonic Rainboom, or has that changed?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's always changing. I mean, I feel that the further we get through the season and kind of get more comfortable with the show and perfect our methods, and as the characters and the stories develop, there's always new cool episodes that come out, and like it seems like almost every one I do is my new favorite. It's like and it's like the one that aired today, which I don't want to. I guess, when is this going out?
No, you can spoil it. You're good.
Yeah,
you're good, because we release these on Wednesdays, so usually we have a few days time.
It was featuring Pinkie Pie episode, and she's trying to make this donkey smile, and the whole episode just features her and the donkey, pretty much, aside from the giant multi-pony music music sequence in the beginning, thanks to Daniel Ingram and the great storyboarding that was done, and the animation, and everyone did a great job. Yeah, it's quite a simple episode in a lot of ways. It's just about Pinkie Pie being Pinkie Pie, trying to make this guy smile, and how he just won't smile, and how that messes with her, and how she messes with him. It's like such a simple setup, and I love how she's so cartoony and he's so opposite of her. It just made, I think, for quite a good story, and I really like how it turned out, and especially, I got to try a different medium in that episode with a little felt stop motion sequence of Pinkie Pie's mind. That was fun to do.
You and your wife working late at night on that piece.
Yeah, it was fun. It was sort of like a moment where I saw something like, I feel this scene going into her mind. It's Pinkie Pie's mind. There should be something unique about it, something different. Maybe there's a chance to try something. We don't usually do that on this show, but maybe this one time it'd be okay. So I got Hasbro's approval to go ahead with that, and then me and my wife were working it out, and she made the little faces and all the bodies in felt and hand stitched the eyes on and everything, and I was like, well, that's a lot of work. You sure? Oh yeah, I want to do this. You're excited about it, and then at first I was just going to animate it very, very crudely. But as I started to animate, I was like, oh, I can actually get a lot out of this. And so it kind of went to town on it. But
there you are, back in the trench.
Yeah, it was just so fun, So I was pretty happy with that episode. But then beyond that, there's other ones that
you're forward thinking. You see what we have not.
I know, like
so
I don't
much
want
exists beyond.
I'm not spoiling what's coming.
No,
that's
don't
for
do
sure.
that.
No, sir.
Never would do that.
We won't let you.
No. Well, as a director and storyteller, I want people to discover the show as it happens. Seeing things early just. To me, I mean, maybe it generates hype, but I like people to be surprised, like, whoa, there's a song here, or whoa, look at that new thing, or something,
cool, like
fun and surprising.
As we've come back to the felt animation, that was probably something that really caught a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah,
it's like, wait a minute, Pinkie thinks in felt. Wait, this is amazing.
Yeah, I wondered what people would think of that, because it is a departure of the style, and it kind of comes out of left field, I guess, but it's in her mind, so it makes sense, right? Wouldn't do that just arbitrarily,
right?
So I was kind of curious to see what people's reactions to that were.
Shall I go ahead and do my AC-centric ones?
Should.
All right, So as we have mentioned, you and your wife do work together, in the show. So how much of your work do you end up taking home, considering the fact that you and your wife, are involved so heavily in the show? I mean, she's done storyboarding, she helped with the felt, and you, of course, being king of the pony, at least for this point.
Well, I mean, She's dipped in a little bit to help with storyboards and things where she could. I mean, she's sort of my support system, like coming home and like trying to figure something out and that kind of thing, or there's something on my mind that I just can't work out, and or she will read a script and we just sort of consult with each other, and I do bring it home. I try not to, because I come home and I want to spend time with the family and not let work take over. But sometimes it just doesn't happen that way. But it's not, home is a sanctuary, so I try not to let it keep me up at night.
Yeah, probably best. There's times for you have to be able to turn that off eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
Have some life outside of Pony.
Yeah,
what would that be like, Chef? What would life outside of Pony be like?
I don't know. It's been like over a year at this point.
It's been a year of just like we're on it all the time.
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay, so here's this, and this isn't just pertaining to Pony for this question, but of course you've worked on multiple projects in the past. Was there anything that ended up on the cutting room floor that you worked on that just like you kind of look back and you're like, I really like that. I almost would have liked to see that come to fruition.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time, really. But you know, you kind of I really try to see it as like, well, yeah, it was a scene that I liked, but you know what, it wasn't right for the show, and so it had to go. And I really try to put those things out of my mind, you know, like or if it's maybe something that could be brought up in another later episode or another show or something. You would just get so disheartened if you fell in love with everything. And I don't want to be the kind of storyteller that falls in love with a scene or a joke and tries to squeeze it in where it's not appropriate. So I try not to let those things get me down. Because it's just part of the editing process, part of the directing process and the storytelling. You know, you go with what is meant to be, and some things, though great on their own, just weren't right or took up too much time or something. So, yeah, and then other times, like when sometimes the crew goes, "Oh, there was that scene. Why is it gone?" Oh, you know, and it's just like, well, it wasn't right. Or
I'm the boss. I said it's gone.
Well, no, it's just like it's what's best for the show, or you know, and so it's try to see it that way.
Yeah, it didn't flow, or it didn't make entire sense.
Yeah,
it was a little misleading.
Yeah, or it just was just
pacing
too long. Yeah, and just you know, I try to only take out things that don't work. You know, and not try to keep them in just for my own sake or for just to make someone laugh that it's just an inside joke, and it should be a joke to everybody if you can, you know.
The Pixar way, trying to make it cover all spectrums.
Yeah, that's kind of what I see when I look at it. It's like, well, you know, like there was the Big Lebowski pony someone mentioned today. You know, if you've never seen Big Lebowski and you're a kid and you don't get it or anything like that, it doesn't hurt the scene. It doesn't matter to that person. It won't. You don't miss anything. But if you do know it, it adds something. So that's sort of where I like to keep it.
Okay.
Yeah. And this next series of questions is sort of a little bit of fandom questions, and then we're going to be going on towards the pony-related stuff.
By Cereal.
Ooh, Cereal. That guy. So do we want to read this one?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, this one's from Final Draft, Every Radio.
Well, these can be for the end.
Oh, okay.
Why I scribbled down end?
That's not end.
That's E squiggle something. That's fine. Just go ahead and hit Cereals.
We're so professional.
I know.
That's fine.
So has the fan community changed the way that you have approached your work when you come to the office every day, or have your methods pretty much stayed the same?
Well, it definitely has changed the way I feel about the show. Yeah, because I mean, obviously, I mean, other shows I've worked on that don't have this kind of fandom, and you don't really think about it. But that now I have this to think about, and sometimes it's a matter of like, whoa, I gotta kind of be careful what I say because somebody's gonna see that and take it and run with it, and you know, we don't want things to get spoiled or put out there too soon, or you know, disrupt our relationship with the client and things like that. You know, it just kind of makes you go, oh, okay, wait, got to make sure that everything is kind of contained in the building. Okay. Yeah, and so that is sort of changed. Like I don't just blurt out things on Twitter that I don't think hard about first. Yeah. You know, if I'm going to say something about the show, I got to make sure I choose my words wisely.
Yeah.
And
Twitter's a dangerous place to start just randomly posting stuff.
Or even like just like panels and stuff. You know, I mean, all of this has changed. You know, just being on a podcast. You know, like that's all new, and you know.
And we understand your predicament. You don't want to say anything that would get you in trouble, which is why, of course, we went through the effort of going, hey, here's the question list. Anything that you don't want us to ask, we'll redact it, you know.
Yeah, and it's not about getting in trouble or anything. It's just, you know, we just don't want things to, we don't want spoilers, you know. Like, it's just, it's better for the show, and it's better for everybody.
Yeah, it keeps everybody happy.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, we just, it's just a little bit little bit more careful about that kind of thing. But
Understandable.
it's a good problem, I have to say. I'm really happy that this has happened. Like it's kind of when you're a kid and you think about, I'm going to make cartoons. Maybe maybe people will actually care about what I draw or what I work on or what
They'll know me by name and send me to conventions
and everybody is excited about that. In the office and everyone associated with the show. It's fun. It's great. So it's definitely a good problem to have.
Yeah.
So here's a good, and we're moving more. We've crossed the threshold now. We are into more pony-centric problems or pony-centric questions. Did a call out to some of our users, and a good one, James_Cork from Twitter, asked this one, and we've heard this from you in the past, and we just wanted to know. So supposedly there's this mythical Lauren Faust Bible that was made.
Design document.
And there's been some things, particularly on her DA, where she said, hey, we've, in the original document we've done, this was the way that we planned the character, how we planned this. How closely do you follow the set Bible, quotes that's been used, opposed to, moving off and doing your own direction?
Well, I mean, that was something that we all studied at the beginning, but everything evolves, and things have evolved since then. I think the original development of Pinkie Pie was that she was a Pegasus,
yes.
And then that changed, things have deviated a bit. But I mean, the characters were so well thought out at that point that we didn't really need to deviate that much. It's just that, like, as the voice actors and the animators and everybody kind of finds the characters, things have kind of evolved and changed and got broader and more nailed down. So we don't really go back to it and study it and go, okay, we got to stick to this. We kind of have allowed the show to be its own entity and
to grow and evolve.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of how any show goes.
Yeah.
You have everything figured out, and over time, if you go back to it, it's like, oh, we don't do that anymore, or it gets a life of its own, which is good. You want the show to sort of write itself in a way. You just say, oh, this character in this situation, go. We know the character well enough that this is what would happen. And that we don't really, have it as a reference for every episode or anything like that. But we try to keep the spirit of it, for sure.
All right. Well, this one's kind of a silly one, but it has to be asked. So it seems that a lot of the staff, from storyboarders Sibsy to musicians William Anderson, now have a pony design of their own.
Right.
Do you have your own pony?
I didn't know Will had a pony.
He just recently put it up,
Really?
updated his
Yeah.
website,
Wow.
has it right there on there. So you are in competition. Everybody else is starting to lap up. We're gonna have to set it up. Come on.
I don't. Well, when I went to the BronyCon in September, there was some posters made where people drew me as a pony, and then one fan came up to me and handed me a customized, sculpted pony that represented me, and I have it in my office. It was really well done. I was really impressed by it, and but I don't specifically have one. I haven't tried to draw one myself or anything like that. I don't, but I'm not opposed to someone else doing it.
It's the nature of
Begin
fandoms
drawing.
and communities
Yeah.
to have pseudonyms that everybody runs under. So
Yeah, but then it's like, well, then you're going to have one for Woody and Sarwal, and, I know Lauren has one.
Yeah, Lauren
somewhere.
has one. Sibsy has hers. A few of them have definitely have jumped on it pretty hard.
embracing their own inner
Yes.
pony.
Let's see this one. Hey, it's me again. Let's see. So this one's kind of fun since you have been involved. So were you specifically around for the hiring of the VAs, or were they chosen?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I was there right from the beginning. We were casting, I think, for a couple of days, and just went through lots of people because there was, Lauren was involved with that. Obviously, she was heavily involved, and so we were just trying to find the most, the actors that have the most personality and the unique sound in their voice, and that were really nice and broad and fit the character, and sort of cast people who were sort of like their pony a bit, maybe. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not always the case, but yeah, I was there. We were all there, And
you went for just characteristics off of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them are Vancouver natives, besides, Tara, who's down there in L.A.
She was a Canadian-born.
Oh, okay, so
yeah.
She still applies.
But yeah, and I'm really happy with the voice actors that we've got. Like, I mean, they've really grown into the characters, and they've put so much of themselves into it, and a lot of times just like, wow, you guys are just go for it. You know?
it's really I mean, just hearing from it, they've all just kind of grown into their own on it, and just from Ashley to Nicole to any of those, it just comes across either by the way that you guys record with like the large number together. It does kind of seem more warm and more real in many cases.
Yeah, I really like it when there's some like kind of off the cuff, sort of things to keep that kind of spontaneous feel, and it's not too wooden or anything like that. I mean, I guess that's the desire of any
ultimate goal.
Anybody, yeah. But yeah, I love how they just go to some extremes, like Tabitha and Andrea, and they just push themselves and just have fun in there. And a lot of times we're laughing, like it's fun time, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, like Tabitha, I can barely believe the range of that woman.
She's great, and and Andrea, when she rambles off some of the stuff for Pinkie Pie, is just amazing. How she can just actually say it. Like, we don't edit her together. When she does a ramble, like a lot of that is just her really able to do that, and I'm just like, wow, can you do that again but faster? And she a lot of times will do it, and she can duplicate. Like, that's a skill for sure.
Oh yeah. And
like how Ashley Ball can like switch between Rainbow Dash and Applejack, like right off the cuff. Like, she has conversation. Like, sometimes, Andrea's good at that too. Like, they're having conversations with themselves, switching back and forth. And they've gotten really good at that. And being the same person doing two totally different characters that's not hard, and that's not easy. I'm sure, but they pull it off. And everyone is great. I love the whole crew.
Yeah, that's just fantastic on this. Well, here's another one with my name on it, so I'll do this. So, of course, some characters have been in the past older series, like Spike and Applejack specifically.
Right, yeah.
They've been around for a while. So, what is it, considering the fact, you have Spike, Applejack, Rainbow Dash from the previous G3, as it's called. So what kind of decisions, and this likely was a lot of Lauren's input, but what was made to kind of make them different than their original counterparts?
I don't know if there was any real drive to make them different. I know Lauren, when she came up with the characters, was really going by her own vision of how she played with the toys when she was a kid, and so she said that a lot of those characters came from her, how she played with them, and so she sort of had their personalities in her head early on. Whether or not they lined up with the original series, I don't know, and I don't know if that was really intentional or anything, but I think that it was just how she saw them, and how Hasbro saw it too. Like, they obviously liked where she was going with it, and stuff. So and like, I don't know how different Spike is as a character from the original.
I will admit, not seeing too much.
Yeah,
I know. Like, Spike is there.
Sorry to say, I like our Spike.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he's a cute dragon. He's a cute little guy, but he's got depth to him too. And
that's the most like miraculous thing of just like any of the characters have this depth. Like, so many like things that would be considered kids shows just lack so much depth.
I love character depth, and Kathy does a great job with him too. You know, like she can really emote and do all the stuff that for that little dragon, you know, and make people fall in love with him.
Well, and this actually kind of goes into the character depth. Are there any more long-term plans, nothing specific, obviously, for character growth like we saw with Applejack and the Super Speedy Cider Squeezy 6000?
Right.
As in, like, learning from previous episodes, etc.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything, obviously, but, you know, like, as we go through the different seasons and you know, there's always going to be new adventures and new things that come up, and you know, characters. Yeah, I mean, the point of any series is to grow the characters. Everything should evolve and get better, right? So yeah, I'm sure you can expect to see, you know, stuff down the line. Trying not to be specific here.
No.
But you know, new things. Yeah, it's part and parcel, right?
Well, like, there's plenty of examples that, you know, just from previous seasons. You know, Zecora was, you know, scared. If everybody's afraid of Zecora, now she's hanging with Twilight.
And Luna changed.
And then you have, you know, even Dash in this current episode. She's in the library reading a Daring Do book.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like, oh, it's, you know, continuity.
Yeah.
What a concept.
We try to remember the past, and you know, go like, well, now she can do this. Well, it gives her one more thing that we can have Rainbow Dash, if she's in the scene doing something. You know, well, she's reading because she's in the library, and what is she reading? Well, now we have something for her specifically to read because of that previous episode. But before that episode, we couldn't do it. So yeah, you just basically things will come up, and you're just gonna have to find out when you see it.
Well, it's cool that you're able to do that.
Yeah, it is.
So, time to go ahead and wrap this up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
It has been fantastic to have you. We have two final questions written by Final Draft of Everfree Radio.
Sure.
Just the basic things. Besides ponies, do you have any upcoming projects?
Well, yeah, I'm always trying to think about, you know, what's down the line. I mean, you know, I'm always working on ideas and stuff. Like, eventually I'd like to have, to develop my own show. You know, that's sort of always been a dream of mine. So, yeah, I'm always thinking up ideas and trying to pitch them and you know, see what goes, what flies and stuff. So, who knows?
Yeah, could have some.
Yeah.
And finally, so this is going out to a large number of the audience, and once they figured out that we've done this, they're going to all swarm to this. So you probably have several thousand people glomming onto your voice right now. So with all these people at your disposal, all these ponies, what would you like to see them do?
Oh, what would I want everyone to do? I mean, it's amazing what has been done already. I mean, all the websites and the podcasts, and you know, people doing their own little cartoons. And fan fiction and video games. I guess, I don't know. I mean, and the music too. Everyone's making all that music and videos. Boy, this is I don't want to. I don't want to dictate anything.
Just
but
keep going.
Yeah, keep doing it.
You know, kind of similar to what we were saying pre-show. You know, let them do all the crazy they do, and let you do all the crazy you do.
Yeah. I mean, we'll just keep making the show, and you guys just keep being awesome fans, and you know. Be aware of copyright laws and whatnot.
We're trying. We're desperately trying to learn.
And watch the show on the hub and buy the toys and
Yes.
You know, make your mods, and I think, you know, it's a great thing that's going on now. I mean, I don't know how precedented this is, but it feels unprecedented. You know, and it's really quite an honor to be at the forefront, at the you know, part of the reason perhaps that this is existing. So just keep doing it. You're doing a great job. Everyone's doing an amazing job. You guys are awesome, and I love you.
Oh, listen to that love across the internet.
Yeah, it's friendship is magic, right?
Yeah.
You gotta
There's a lot of
stay
magic
with the
going on right
theme.
now.
And I love the that there's these I've heard about charities and things like that. Like it's so good, and people have kind of come together across like different parts of the world and different types of people. I've heard about like soldiers from Afghanistan who are fans of the show, and it's amazing how people across genres have come together, and I think that really is a great it's a great part of what the message of the show is, that people of different types of people can be friends together and appreciate our differences and be and just everybody accepting each other. It's I hope that spreads more and becomes a bigger influence on people as a whole. So I mean that's a big broad thinking for a Saturday morning cartoon, but it's just like the fandom has been so huge.
We've
got a
pulled
life
some
of its
crazy
own.
stuff off
Yeah.
already. Let's keep
Yeah,
going.
keep it going. Keep growing. Keep getting bigger. Let's see what we can do.
So it has been an extreme honor to have you on.
Thanks.
We
It's
will
been great.
we will definitely be in touch the rest of this convention, and then in the future. Send our well wishes to everyone over there at
Yes,
the
I
HX
will.
Studio B, because
Yeah.
we absolutely love what everyone is doing over there.
Oh, everyone's doing such a great job,
yeah,
and,
so-
and I couldn't be more proud of everybody.
And we couldn't be more proud of you guys too.
Thanks,
you guys
yeah.
are awesome. So just give you that little bit of warm feeling to take
I'm
home
all
to
fuzzy
Vancouver.
inside.
So from myself, Chef.
Yes, thank
Yes,
you.
all
Thank
the
you.
thousands listening. It's super gracious to have you here, and it's going to go ahead and do it. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, every pony out there, and keep watching and keep bringing the love.
There we go.
Awesome. Sleep well, every pony.
Adios.
Bye bye.
Hey, look, my mic needs to be on.
With a big box of tiny ponies.
All right, we all on? Let me make sure. There we go. All right.
Getting everything?
My mic was off for a moment.
That's okay. It happens.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go ahead and probably attach this to our next episode over at bronyshow.com. So you can go ahead and, yes, of course, always plugging. Also, what we are doing today to kind of make this a little bit easier for everyone involved, I have Starry over here in the corner. She's fielding some questions. So if you have any, there should be some 3x5 cards and pins. So if there are any questions in general you would like to ask Jayson, we're just going to go ahead and field them. That way, there's no particular questions of things that he can't talk completely about. Just to make things a little easier. So, tell you what, let's start off just with some of the basics a little, Jayson.
Sure.
So, let's go with just the simple, stupid kind of, why did you decide, of all the careers you could probably end up getting into, why did you decide to go into the animation?
That's a good one. I mean, it sort of was part of my childhood growing up. We all watched cartoons, I'm sure everybody here has. And I remember my dad, he liked cartoons, and he would get me up on Saturday mornings to watch Bugs Bunny and stuff, and so that was probably a big influence, and then I just sort of took off from there. He used to draw for me when I was bored. He would draw me a little Roadrunner, and that was the only thing he could do was draw a Roadrunner in this particular pose with a certain kind of formula. And I was always fascinated about him, just watching him draw it. But I didn't really think about animation as a career until I was a teenager. But I do remember going in, and I had one of these Fisher-Price movie projector things where you wind it. I don't know if anyone here is old enough to have seen one of those. When you look through the viewfinder and you see a little film. And I had Lonesome Ghosts, which was an old Disney Mickey Mouse film. And I had watched that thing frontwards and backwards hundreds of times. It was the only one I had, so I knew every frame and every pose, everything. I had studied it backwards and forwards, and that may have helped me in my career a little bit. I don't know, but yeah, it was just sort of ended up being like the only thing I felt I was good at, I guess. Yeah, I was into it all through high school. I would always paint cells and things like that on my own, and just was kind of geeky for animation and cartoons. And there were no real cons or internet or anything like that for me to latch onto, and just a couple of my friends in school that we would just do this together. But there wasn't a huge community like what you guys have now. You guys are so lucky, really. If I drew a picture, only I saw it. I didn't have, someone to upload it to. But yeah, it just sort of went from there. I went to animation school and then got a job and just worked my way up.
All right, awesome. Actually, we have some of the fan-submitted questions came in, and this one actually is a pretty fun one. I'm not sure there's no name attached to this one, so I guess if it's you can just go, woo, or something.
You're going to get a lot of woos.
Probably a little bit. Hey, we all put that in. So what shows were you a fan of then and are a fan of now that are out there?
Oh, well, I mean, like I said, Bugs Bunny and Tom and Jerry and all the old Warner Brothers and classic cartoons. I used to like the old Popeyes and black and white Mickey Mouses. Those were, big influence on me when I was a kid. And oddly enough, when I was a kid, we had only one channel on TV in my little hometown of Chilliwack, BC, which is outside of Vancouver. And every morning before I went to school, I'd watch whatever cartoons came on, and I didn't care what it was. I just wanted to watch cartoon because it was other than that, it was the news. So I just needed something to watch, and it was one of the shows was My Little Pony, and I watched it because it was on, and I didn't particularly want to watch it, but it was just it's cartoons better than the news, and I would never have guessed I'd be sitting here right now 30 years later. And Ren and Stimpy was another big influence, and what's with the groans? Well, Ren and Stimpy was funny.
Ren and Stimpy's good.
Yeah, it's 1990. or so. You know, watched The Simpsons, and I liked a lot of the shows of the '90s too. Animaniacs and Tiny Toon Adventures. You know.
So you're getting them back now. That's good.
Yeah, there was the Disney cartoons of the after-school shows and stuff. So those were big influences on me, I guess. And as of now, you know, oddly, I really don't have much time to watch cartoons. And I watch cartoons all day for a living. I don't really get a lot of time to devote to watching shows. So I'm having trouble thinking of one that's influencing me now. But I'll get back to you on that.
Go put some stuff on the TiVo.
Yeah,
and that was pretty good.
I need to sit down and actually watch something.
Want to do one? Or okay, that's a pretty good one.
Yes,
go for it.
There's 2 lists.
Yes, minute.
All right, there is again no name on this one. Many allusions are drawn to classic cinema and theater. How do you decide what references make the cut, especially in songs?
Oh, classic cinema and theater. Well, I mean, whatever fits for the story. It's, you know, when Daniel Ingram writes a song, he usually puts a certain feel to the song, and especially like the feeling in the emotion of what they're singing about will influence the style of the shots. I mean, we've got to keep it in the style of the show that we've set up and that Lauren set up, but you know, sometimes we'll do something kind of genre specific. But it's really whatever fits for the scene. And like in the Daring Do episode, we went for more of a, you know, Indiana Jones feel and had more of a cinema kind of feel. And we had tried to contrast it highly with Rainbow Dash in the hospital, and try to make that as boring as possible with like wide shots and just flat and boring, nothing much happens, so that when you see the scene, you know, in the book, it's much more exciting when you go into letterbox and we put a little film effect on it and stuff. Tried to give you the feeling of the contrast between the boring hospital and the interesting book.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention adding a great new character.
Yeah.
Well, here, and you know, you mentioned this a little bit, and you know, Lauren Faust actually helped out, you know, with the inception of the show. She helped out considerably in season 1 and in season 2. Now, the question is on this one is Lauren going to be a part at all on season 3? It sounded like a lot of her production was a lot of the world building, and it seems that was, you know, come season 1 and season 2, I think a lot of the world building was pretty much laid. Would that be what you would equate it to, or? Yeah,
I mean, she built the show. She knew how everything should be. She came up with the characters and, you know, all the look and the design of the characters. And then even like the storyboarding style, she was heavily influencing on that too. You know, since she left, season 2, she was mostly involved with the writing, so she was involved mostly there. And then we took the you know, for everything that she set up for us, we could just run with that. We were ready to go. And season 3, she is not really a part of at all at that point, except in spirit.
That's all right.
The show's incapable.
You know, you guys
keeping it going.
You guys are definitely working and putting your own spin and fun onto it. You know, you are. I mean, I can say, and I've even had some people email recently where they're just like, man, they're making such progress. Is like, go back and see season 1, and they're looking at like the animation and everything progressing into season 2. We had the thing with you yesterday where you were like, oh, like the beginning of the show, we were really focused on hair and making sure the hair was nice. And we got an email yesterday, man, the hair looks a lot better. You know? It's like
that comes with just, you know, getting used to, you know, the production, and we're getting better and knowing the pitfalls and things we should avoid, and having animation that we've done before that we can improve on. I go back and watch season 1, episodes 1 and 2. I watched it recently, and I was like, oh, this is a bit. We've got a lot better since then. And it's just part of the evolution of the show. It should get better. That's the hope. If we can, that's the best thing we can do.
And try and make it all just flow pretty well, and have that all taken care of. Another no name here, but we'll go for it.
So, what comes first, the moral or the story? Most episodes end with a letter, and what kind of letters, morals we've learned. Do the morals / lessons come first, and then sculpt the story, or are they the story ideas that you then add morals lessons to?
Oh, that's interesting. I don't think the morals come first. It's more about the idea first, and then if a moral can be made from that, then we have a successful episode. So it sort of comes from say the episode that where again, I'm just going to reference the Read It and Weep. Rainbow Dash learning that reading is cool. Is sort of like that one perhaps was the moral first, and then the story came out of that. But I wouldn't say that all of them are that way. It's just sort of like whatever fits the bill. It's sort of a loose process, right? Mm-hmm. People come up with just nuggets, and if we can build something on that nugget of an idea, and it has a moral and everything fits, then it's like, okay, that's an episode. Let's submit that one and see where it goes.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like there would be too much of it is a chicken then an egg. It's
right.
Like I've got a moral idea here. Let me see if I can build a story around it, or I've kind of got this story idea. We can lead it this way, and there's the moral.
Right. Because a story idea could have several different moral ideas, and it's just finding which that one is. And I don't want to speak for the writers because they're in a separate kind of group than us. So. I'm not exactly privy to all the ins and outs that they put into the show.
Their secret little writer meetings. Yeah. All right, well, let's see. This one's a little bit more broad, and this one, of course, by no name again.
Put your names on these if you want to be recognized.
All right, we'll try to. Or
anonymous.
The woo-ness, you can go with the woo. There you go. So, of course, the show has been wildly and maybe unpredictably popular, as this room can probably show. So this question is, why do you think it took this long to make a cartoon with this kind of appeal? Was it luck, or was the production different from any other cartoons? I guess what they're trying to say is, what was the magic formula that may have led to this?
That is the $1 million question, isn't it? If networks could know the magic formula, they'd all be using it. I think that it was, with the TV shows and animation, or I'm sure live action and even movies, it's sort of like the right timing, the right opening, and the right person, and everyone coming together. This was. The Hub and Hasbro were putting together, they were making a new network. They needed shows for the network. They had all these properties. They had My Little Pony, Transformers, all this stuff. They wanted to reboot them. They knew there was the old generation that, would find nostalgia and would have kids that would enjoy it too. So they had this, property that they wanted to market. And they just needed somebody to kind of foster it and bring it into its own. And I think the story goes that Lauren was approaching the network when it was early on, and was pitching her own show, and then they, I guess, saw the potential in her work and was like, well, what do you think of My Little Pony? Would you want to take that on? And luckily enough, she was a huge fan of the old My Little Ponies, and so she jumped at it. And so that's like the person to create the new reboot of the show was like kind of the perfect person. She was like really smart in the industry. She had a lot of experience. She's really talented, good storyteller, and then she's a huge fan of the property and knew exactly what she wanted to do with it. And then Hasbro, being having a new network, were wanting to get viewers, obviously, so they saw that the enthusiasm. I mean, I'm sort of speculating at this point, but obviously they liked what she was doing and they liked what was going on, and then it just sort of happened. I mean, it doesn't always happen. It's kind of rare and it's kind of special, and I think that this is a special show with that. This doesn't always happen, and we should kind of. I don't want to get all sentimental.
No.
But like this may not happen again for a long time. And if they could duplicate this kind of enthusiasm for every show that was out there, they would. I'm sure all the show producers would love to have panels of people talking about the show and going to conventions and things like that. So. I mean, it's just everybody involved was just really into it. It was just the right combination.
And there's some other benefits, I mean, that I think do lend itself so heavily to the show as well. Lauren's past history, pretty much all of her shows do include very strong female characters.
Right.
Like, you look at Powerpuff, you look at Foster's Home, they all include very, very strong female characters as part of their cast, the main cast. And I think that you feel that there's a lot of that, that comes across in her designs with the show. I mean, even the character that you could consider the most meek, Fluttershy, has her moments where she just, all right, here I go,
contrasts herself.
Just has those bits to it. And if I may state one more thing that I think is probably a very important point, was that, and this was echoed not only in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, but also in the Adventure Time. One of the things that happened very early was the fact that it was very open to reach out to the production team over at Studio B and over to DHX, because it was like, oh, this person has a DeviantArt account. And somebody will say, oh, hey, I really like the show. And they'd say, oh, that's cool. I'm glad you like it.
Right.
That kind of open door ability to just say, oh, I really appreciate your work, and actually, not get a stone wall, but hear like, oh, that's great. What did you like about it?
Right,
was a real like, oh, wait, this dialogue can somewhat happen.
Yeah, I guess that could be it too. I didn't really know about not answering those kinds of things, or I don't think, and just like, oh, if someone likes a show, well, thanks, that's great to hear. That's kind of why we do it, right? We don't do it so that nobody likes it.
Yep. Community interactivity is awesome.
Yeah, why not?
It's just the proliferation of social media being out there.
Yeah, it's kind of the sign of the times too.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so easy for people to connect with industry people as well, and a lot of people have Facebook pages and Twitter accounts and all kinds of things like that are just allowing us all to connect to each other. And I think, and as well as with the bronies and the fans, you can connect to each other through those means, and it helps to grow the fan base. I mean, like when I was a kid, not having that sort of thing, it just kind of limited to like the 3 or 4 friends of mine that would come over and watch a show every day or whenever it aired. Like we would tape the show and bring it over to someone's house and then watch like a marathon of a bunch of episodes of Ren and Stimpy. Sorry.
It's all right.
I'm just telling the truth.
I'm with you, Jason. It's okay. It's all right to like Ren and Stimpy.
We didn't have anything much else to watch. We still had to watch it on TV. We didn't have internet.
Whoa. Hold yourself there. Was that the thing before YouTube?
Yeah, it was. And we had to wait for it to air, and we couldn't watch it again afterwards, and all these things.
What a world!
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about TVs and having to crank something to watch.
I'm old.
Oh man,
my daughter is going to grow up in a very different world, I tell you.
Yeah. Paleolithic era, just little screen moves.
Yeah.
But all right, let's see. What do you got there?
I've got a very simple question.
Oh, okay.
Here. This is something.
Break it back a little bit.
Yeah, rein you in. Do you buy any of the toys, or does Hasbro give you anything?
Oh, Yeah, I've bought them for sure, and because I have a daughter, so it's a good thing to get her for Christmas. She really loves to play with them. She acts out things and stuff. But yeah, we've gotten some swag from Hasbro. They're very generous and nice about that stuff. So I mean, we don't just get like gobs and gobs of it. They're not going to just give us everything, but. They show their appreciation, and they're very good client, I have to say. I'm very happy to be working with them.
Have you? I mean, I can just imagine that to some extent there you'll go at Studio B. There's definitely not only a lot of self-made pony material, just probably adorning everywhere, but there's probably some there'll be figurines and there'll be stuff kind of all over the place there. So,
yeah. People who work on the show, they buy and sometimes modify their own ponies. We have a few Generation 1 ponies that have been taken apart and put back together in strange ways. We have fun. Some people build little, pony castles out of cardboard boxes and things like that to decorate their desks and stuff.
So fun.
Yeah, we try to make it fun.
Little pony playset there.
Yeah.
No, come on, bring your Twilight Sparkle over. This will be great.
It's okay, it's compiling.
This is research.
They would go up here, and they would...
yeah, it helps to block out the scenes.
Yeah, they're just building...
Get all the diorama of it.
All right, you can get a book fort set, and we can go ahead and move them in place.
We also have fan art that we've encountered over the course of the production, and have put it up on the wall, stuff we've liked and thought was cool. So there's a bit of that up in the studio as well.
Okay. Let's see. Now, this one I'm going to have to chop into 3 different questions because... Oh, wait. 1, 2... Where's the other one? 3. Okay. So there's a few here that can kind of be combined together. So... First one was, what is your favorite background pony? Okay. Second one is, what is your favorite character? And the third one is, this one can be kind of taken. They wanted Applejack to have their own solo, so we'll do this. Let's start with the music one, especially with that.
Okay.
What's the determining factor to say, you know what, this episode we're thinking about doing this, we need to make a song? So what's kind of the factor of just going like, we should do a song with this character here. Hey, Daniel, go.
Well, that starts in the script stage for sure. I mean, Hasbro. I mean, all of this stuff costs money, and there's production costs to go with it. Throwing a song into an episode isn't exactly free. There's a lot of work that Daniel puts into it. He has to hire demo singers and do all kinds of mixing and hire guitarists and things like that. So we plan it ahead of time, and Hasbro may say, well, we want a certain number of songs to happen within this season or something like that, or this episode seems like a song is needed in this scene, and we haven't had one for a while, so let's put one in, and if it works and they're willing to put the budget in, then we do it. And so it's generally written in, and also the story editor will choose that too, and then the writer will kind of work it out in terms of how the song fits to the story and some lyrics to go with that, and if the lyrics need to be adjusted to work for a song, that's where Daniel comes in, and he might adjust a word here or there so that it sings well, and then we go with it, and he does a little demo, and we approve it, and Hasbro approves it, and it just keeps going from there. So yeah, it just sort of it either comes out of the story where it feels right, or it's sort of we're trying to make sure that we don't have too much time between songs because they're one of the highlights of the show. Mm-hmm. But that's the trick is to try and put a song in a show without it feeling like shoehorned in. It should really come out of the story. So if it works with the story, then we try and push for it.
Get many of those songs caught in your head like we do.
Oh yes, definitely. I've definitely had winter wrap-up running through my brain
Yeah.
for months and months and months, and then it aired, and then it was just like, oh, now it's all over the internet.
Yeah, you are not alone right now. I was just kind of sitting here just, oh boy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Well, like my wife storyboarded the winter wrap-up sequence, and I heard that song over and over again as she was working it out, and it was because she was working at home, and I would, come home from work, and I'm like, oh, there's ponies again, can't escape it. But
it keeps happening, bro.
Yeah, it's every song that comes up gets stuck in my head because you have to listen to it over and over and over and kind of visualize what are we going to put here, and then we study it and break down the animation and all that. So it just, by the time the show is done, I've seen the show 50,000 times. I dream in it sometimes.
So to just do these two, and we don't have to go in absolutes of favorite character and favorite background pony, but which character? Let's just go with this. Which characters do you think to you stand out as the ones that you find most interesting? There you go.
Of the MLP characters, or just any character.
Yeah, just go for it.
Well, somebody brought me a customized Screw Loose. That's her name.
Oh,
That
yes.
was you there. So she is my now favorite background pony.
There you go.
And she will be in the foreground on my desk at work. And as for the out of the main characters, I mean, if anybody saw the episode that released on Saturday, I guess Pinkie Pie is a pretty strong candidate because she just has so much versatility and so much fun that you can have with her. When there's a Pinkie Pie episode coming up, it's like, oh, we get to really break the rules and try something new.
She can appear in the same scene with herself at times.
Count on her hooves.
Oh man, 6. That was rather nuts.
It was a fun thing when even when Lauren was on the show, she would say like, well, because when we were trying to figure out how to storyboard and tell the story, we were thinking, well, it's really cartoony. Maybe we can do crazy stuff with the other characters. And she was like, well, no, they live in more of the real world. But Pinkie Pie, if you have a scene with her, we can break the rules a bit with her. So okay, and that kind of set up our thoughts about her, and it was really useful because a lot of times we have got to get 6 ponies in one shot. And we can't, especially when it's a close-up on all their faces, it's kind of hard to fit them all in. And so sometimes we got people down on the ground and on the sides, and well, there's a space above their heads. Well, we'll just have Pinkie Pie come down and stick her head into the shot, and it doesn't matter.
Just popping out of people's hair.
Yeah.
And just popping out of hats with a hat.
Yeah.
Hatception.
That's just fun.
Yeah. She is quite good at being just completely out there.
Yeah.
The times where she breaks the fourth wall and it's just like, does she know we're here? Like paying attention that's particularly crazy and interesting. All right, so let's see.
Well. I see.
Okay, she is with us at all times.
Watching you forever. So, bring back a little bit regarding G1. How much do you know about G1, or you or your wife? Is that something you grew up with?
Well, like I said, I did watch the show, but I didn't retain the show. All I retained was the opening title song because it was on all the commercials. But I didn't reference that at all, and I just sort of vaguely remembered it. It wasn't necessarily something that stood out to me, other than it was that Pink Pony show that I used to bide my time before school started with.
Just had to flip through, just all right, I got 30 minutes, let's go.
Yeah. I think there's only one episode of that series that I actually do remember, and it had something to do with one of the characters wished that it would stop raining, and then it stopped raining forever, and it was a big drought, and then she learned not to wish for that or something like that. That's all I remember. I don't know what that was about.
Don't wish.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for, I suppose, was the lesson.
Think about those wishes. They could have consequences.
Yeah.
That was from Nicole.
Yay, Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole.
So, let's see. Here's a fun one. So, of course, you've got all this fan momentum that's out here right now. You know, there's obviously people who would really like to see more, as much more as they could get. And this one comes from the mysterious Mayor-do-well back there.
Who is that masked mayor?
Who knows? But this question is, and I'm sure there is rumblings and thoughts about it, but the question is there any talk or any idea of there possibly being a Friendship is Magic movie? Of course, you know, you can't really say if there is or isn't, but we can go on the, wouldn't that be a cool idea?
Yeah, yeah, it would be. I think that the show could sustain a movie. And it's just a matter of the powers that be making a decision such as that. I don't have a whole lot of influence on that sort of thing. They have their own departments and people that are working on, you know, marketing the show whichever way they need to and want to. And I am the director for hire should they choose to do so. And you know, that's only if they would choose to use me. I mean, who knows if they would ever think of that? It would go with the TV director.
All right, let's see. Here's a few more. So here's a pretty good idea. And you guys are still in crunch time right now. You probably have you probably have at least a month or two
tomorrow.
Fly right out. Just back to the Centos.
Yeah.
But so here's a good question, and this is probably just a good idea for us. This one comes from Woo. Comes from all of them. How long does it take an episode to get made? You know, and I suppose that could go from the storyboard or the particular pieces. How long do those take to get made? And do you work more than one at a time?
Oh yes. Okay. Well. I guess an example would be when we greenlit the show for season 1. We hadn't. I think there was the two-parter was written. I know Lauren wrote that, but the script wasn't finalized yet. So that was about November of 2009, and we finished the first episode about 9 months later. But that wasn't that we worked on the first episode for 9 months. We'd start working on the first episode, and then once the script was approved and we were working on the designs for it and the board artists were going, then the next episode would get started, and then the next episode. It's like an assembly line of sorts as the one gets going, and then there's a couple of board artists working on one episode. Then the next one gets started, and there's another set of board artists that work on that. So at any given time, there's about 5 or 6 or 7 episodes in production at various stages. And so because of that, it kind of pushes out all the lengths of times to do stuff because it can't focus on one episode at all times. So it's kind of hard to say exactly how long, you know, if I actually calculated the actual time I worked on episode 1 all the way through to the end. It could have been like as much as 3 months, but because of everything got spread out, it ended up as 9. So like, and it's tricky because I come into work and I've got meetings and different things throughout the day, and it can be on any one of 6 episodes that are in production. So one person is asking me an animation question on episode 209, the next person is asking me a question on episode 212, and in a storyboard thing or something like that, or then there's the music on another episode, and script is coming in for another episode, and then a board is handed in, so I got to jump, you know, from episode to episode, and thankfully Woody, the co-director, kind of helps we sort of split things up and work on it together, and couldn't really do it all by myself, that's for sure.
Do you know of any particular scene or maybe a particular episode that might have been particularly tough to just to get the way that you would want it to be? Like
Like something like a tricky...
yeah, just like maybe like, we want to do this, but we want to do it this way, or we're not sure if this is like turning out the way that we want, but we want it to do this. Was there anything that you found particularly challenging?
Yeah, that does come up on a basis here and there, and it can happen anywhere in the storyboard and the animation. Sometimes you have these grandiose ideas for a scene, and then it gets animated, and you're like, well, maybe that didn't quite work out. Maybe we should rethink this. I guess trying to think of a specific example for that. I mean, if it was anywhere, it'd probably be season 1, because season 2 we're getting a lot better at knowing what we can and cannot do. But the songs are probably the trickier parts. Try to work those out early on, because you had to choreograph it to the actual moment in the song. Trying to think. I think in the episode where Rarity makes the gala dresses, it was episode 14. There was a particular sequence of events that Lauren really wanted to do when Rarity presents the actual good dresses to. It was hoity-toity at the end of the episode. She wanted to have this big, beautiful sequence, and we had boarded it as how we saw it, but she had something different in mind, and we were trying to work it out, and so she kind of came in and helped board that, and it was a bit tricky because there was some things that in animation it worked really, really well in the board, and we really saw the potential in it. When we went to animate it, we were like, oh, I'm not sure this is translating well. We might have to rethink this a little bit, and to try and get that same feeling that she had wanted. And then we present that to her. It's like, well, this isn't exactly how you did it, but is this okay too? This is another way, and she was gracious about like, oh yeah, that's good too.
And that scene in particular, I mean, you think you were doing the identities of all of the, all 5 of those characters, and then transitioning into the next one. That
was a pretty tricky sequence for sure. Also, in the second episode, when everybody was transforming into the elements of harmony. That was another one that was like tricky to do, because working with Flash, there's some things you got in your mind and you see it in your head and you draw it, and then someone else tries to interpret that into a vector medium, and we're just, oh, okay, that maybe isn't quite working. And that's what rough cuts are for. We bring the animation in, and we see how it's all cutting together, and if we need to revise it, we do. And sometimes we even like completely rework a scene from scratch, and just like, okay, that is not working. We have to rethink that. And luckily, we have a crew of people on staff that can just take care of those revisions. But it's part of the spontaneous kind of creative aspect of it, where we're able to make sort of last-minute changes to make it better. And it's always in the direction of trying to make it better, trying to tell the story better, and improve upon what the person previous had set up.
Okay. Here's another question. So, is there a reason why you guys use painted backgrounds and vector backgrounds instead of only Flash?
Oh, we don't use any painted backgrounds except for maybe a color card or something like that. A couple of painted backgrounds have shown up here and there, but all of the backgrounds on the show are painted in Flash. We have an amazing background painter, Jeff Manson, who he sets up all the color keys for the background locations. And I don't know how he does it, but he really works wonders with Flash. He just knows what colors to choose and how to use that program to its best advantage. And so the reason why we do that is because Flash, being vector, gives us so much more versatility. We can zoom in on something all the way down to like the tiniest little, like almost a pixel size, and then zoom out as far as you want. And we can split things up into layers and create a multi-panel camera, and kind of get a pseudo 3D look as we move through the landscapes and stuff like that. And plus we can like take elements out of the background, like a tree or a bush or something, and copy and paste it and make new backgrounds out of old backgrounds quite easily, and no one knows the wiser. But if we paint them, it does kind of limit how far you can zoom in without getting pixelated, or zoom out, and it's hard to separate layers, and it also creates a larger file size in Flash. And I don't know if anyone here has worked with Flash. It's not the most fun program in terms of its capacity to run a large file.
Oh yeah.
And that is one of the I'd say that is one of the big challenges of My Little Pony, especially when the script and the scene is calling for huge crowds of people or ponies in the scene. And you bring them all in, and it's like, oh, I can't even open the file now. There's too many ponies.
If you want, we can drive down to Adobe, and you can just shake your fist at them.
And it's been a big frustration for us, because like sometimes we would build something to have like lots of layers and lots of like the rig would be really, really great and have all this versatility. You bring that rig of a pony into Flash, and it works okay, but as soon as you bring another pony in, it crashes. It's just too much, so we have to like pull it out and try and simplify it for the scene, what is called for. So a lot of times background ponies aren't necessarily more than just a still image.
Add more apple trees. Remove apple trees.
Yeah. So sometimes if if things don't always move, it's probably because we couldn't move it. Mm-hmm. It's just a limitation we have to live with, and I'm still amazed at how much we've been able to get out of the program. So it's still great for what we're able to do with it.
Actually, that's a good question.
Okay. Oh, hey, here's one that's just that's fresh off the terms. In terms of Flash, how much animation is automated action script versus just tweening?
It is all hand animated in the sense that the most we have pre-made, and we don't use action scripting really for anything. We just tween everything. And every pony has a run cycle and a walk cycle and a trot cycle for as many angles as, I think there's an 8-point turnaround for each pony. So there's a lot of pre-animation to do just for runs, walks, trots, and Pinkie Pie has her bounce that was pre-made. I think Pinkie Pie's bounce actually came from the animation test that we did. It just worked out well. We just kept it. So that's pretty much the extent of the pre-made animation that we have. We have like all the mouth shapes and the eye blinks and some hair cycles done ahead of time, but beyond that, it's customized for each scene. The animator, the layout artist poses it for the scene. The animator animates it for the scene, and the only reuse, pre-made animation we might use beyond that is something from another scene or the animator's own little archive that they would keep for themselves to help save time. It's all about saving time.
All right, let's see. Here's another fun one that I'm actually very curious about. So this question from just, I guess, Woo again. Do you guys have a set layout for maybe Canterlot or Ponyville where it's just like, all right, if a character is going to be walking this way, they're going to be walking towards rarities, or they're walking like that. Is there any set layouts for Ponyville, landmarks, floor plans, and how close are they followed?
Yeah, we have our stock locations where we can see Ponyville in the wide shot, and the tree house, and the library, and all the main locations that we go to all the time, plus the interiors. That's the basic starting point. And we kind of have a rough idea of where everything is laid out in the town. So if they need to go from Ponyville to Equestria, they would head a certain direction. And Fluttershy's house might be, here or there. Or it's loose though. I mean, we keep a basic idea of where it is, but sometimes a scene calls for someone to go somewhere that we don't really want to nail it down so much that it limits us to like where things need to be. I mean, sometimes it's just easier just to cut to Fluttershy's house and they're arriving. it just saves us time too. Yeah, and as far as like floor plans, we don't really have a floor plan, which can be an issue sometimes. Where where is Rarity's bedroom? How does that work with the upstairs and the downstairs? Or that was a problem early on with Twilight's loft, where she sleeps upstairs of the treehouse. We weren't exactly sure where that was and how it pertained to the outside of the tree, and what window lined up with what exterior window lined up with the interior window. It's just not that well planned out. Like, not well, but like it's just not that meticulously planned out, and it gives us the flexibility to be able to tell the story and focus on that, and not where specifically everything is.
Well, one thing I was going to add to that, Simpsons has been running for such a long time. They actually do have a layout of Bronyville and Bronyville.
Ponies on the brain.
Wow. Springfield.
Wow.
That actually, they can reference. So, maybe once you guys have 10 seasons or so.
Yeah, maybe by then.
Have a map of Ponyville and everything else.
I didn't know Matt was such a fan.
I know, right? Hey, there are fans out there that are really tried hard to make a map.
Oh, yeah. When it was one of the episodes this season where it was just like, oh yeah, this is where Cloudsdale is, and this is where Ponyville is, and people were like, all right, got it. Like they've started to be like, okay, in this shot, the town hall is here, in relation to this is here, so the map will be like,
it's
flexible. These guys are pretty passionate about everything, so just a little bit.
Teensy bit obsessive in some cases. All right, so this is the last. We're going to be wrapping up the questions, but we're running out of time, and this is the last one.
Well, sorry,
guys. We only have an hour for this. So, how much impact does the fan community have, at least to your day-to-day, like, making of the shows? Like, do you, really care about what the fan reaction is?
Well, I mean, we definitely see what is being said, and at least I do. I like to check up and see what's happening. And it seems like, if people are talking about something, it's fun to see. Well, what is it that's attracting people today? There's always something different. It's really really fast how you guys react. It's really amazing. Like how someone made me a custom pony just because I mentioned it yesterday. That's real crowdsourcing. But I try not to let it influence the show too much. We don't want it to become that. It's just about really kind of keeping a lid on the show too, because you guys really want to know so much stuff that we don't necessarily want to tell you. We don't want to spoil anything, and some people have gotten a hold of materials and put it out there. So we have to be careful about what we say and what we do and what materials get out there, so that we don't upset our client, and it's a professional relationship we want to maintain, and so we're just being careful about as what we say and do out there. That's not really a big deal about every day. We don't really think about that much, but it wasn't a problem or an issue on episode 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 as much.
Okay, and last question: is there anything you'd like to ask the community?
Anything I'd like to ask?
One simple question.
Why?
Oh man!
Why are you?
Why? That's actually not a bad question. I mean, I get asked. I get that a lot from people who, like journalists, who are curious about this phenomenon, and they say, what is it about the show that is drawing so many, guys to watch a show for girls? And I say, like, well, maybe because it's a good show.
I like that.
Could it be that? Can it just be as simple as that?
That works for me.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, this may be a little off topic from what you asked, but I find it odd that, like, if if there's a girl or a group of girls that are interested in a show that's intended for boys, nobody really seems to think that that's strange. But as soon as guys start watching a show that's intended for girls, it's like, it's the whole world's turning upside down. What's happening? Why is this happening?
Cats and dogs living together, pandemonium.
So, I think this is just kind of like it's a new thing for society to understand, I guess. But it's great. I'm so glad that this has happened because it's a testament to the show and to you guys and to the world today that this is good. This is okay. It's cool even. So I would just ask that you guys just keep it up. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an awesome job. It just keeps astounding me every day, the stuff that I see you guys doing. So you guys are going to take over.
You can't go on a message board on the internet without finding us somewhere.
Exactly. Like, I saw something up on the web before a few days ago about how 4chan put up a special MLP board.
They finally gave in.
Or did they?
Yeah.
So I was just kind of like, wow, that's something.
It sure is
it's
something.
Definitely
and
something.
even like stuff like this, where this isn't an anime show or anything like that, but I guess it worked because it's animation, but look at how big this one show has sort of got its own panel,
got a nice
couple of panels,
full panel room.
Yep.
And like the long line of people wanting to get my autograph, which was completely worthless a year or two ago. So I've never wrote my name so many times. That's not for a contract or a bank statement or something.
But it is simply the love that we have for you and everything that you guys over there at DHX and Studio B do. You guys do awesome work.
Thanks.
It is testament to everybody here.
And Hasbro,
we
appreciate it to them
Hasbro.
too, for sure.
Yes.
And Lauren, of course.
Yes, all parties involved.
Yes,
very
exactly.
very big thanks to that. So
keep going. Keep being magical.
Yeah. All right. Well,
to be
that's
cheesy.
Thank you very, very much, Jayson.
Thank you, everybody.
It was a pleasure to talk to you once again on this, and have a good trip back to Vancouver. And,
I'll be rushing back to get ready for work tomorrow.
To
make more ponies.
Looking forward to season 2 and onward.
Yeah, there's still a lot of episodes left of season 2, so keep tuned. There's stuff to see yet.
All right, sounds good. We'll go ahead and wrap this up. Sleep well, every pony.
Adios.
Did you want to do any giveaways or anything?